I'm so glad we got to worship together, spend time together, the praise, the time of just seeking God's face. It's so needed, right? It doesn't matter if we actually got an extra hour of sleep or if we got an extra cup of coffee, because really God is the one who's called us to come and focus on His kingdom, focus on His presence. That's why we gather and that's why we scatter. And so, CBC, church family, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. I am so thankful to be a part of what God's doing here and the difference each and every one of you are making in our community, for your love, for your generosity, and for the impact. It's wonderful to talk about you to people in the community, different pastors, grocery store clerks, everybody. There's just a buzz about what God is doing, and we don't want to take that for granted. And so thank you for being a part of all that God is doing to change lives and be a part of having an impact in this community. Like Ali said, we threw a few parties this week. I had fun. I hope you had fun. We had the annual picnic. We had the trunk or treat. And that got me thinking, anyone like to celebrate? There are 3 of you. That's good. But maybe we celebrate the achievement, right? We celebrate when our favorite team wins. Any of you Dodger fans? And I know you Cowboy fans, I'm sorry, you don't know what it means to celebrate because you don't know what it means to win. But we celebrate. We celebrate special moments like birthdays, holidays, anniversaries. We like to throw parties to make a big deal, and it's fun. But did you know that God likes to celebrate? God absolutely loves to celebrate, to throw a party where heaven is rocking, and it is absolutely amazing. It's one of the biggest things that can help you and I follow Jesus more in this real life. And so I want us to check out Luke chapter 15 together to see what's happening. It may be a familiar story, but I want you to see it from God's perspective on what makes the dance music blare and the disco ball spin today. And so Luke chapter 15, follow along the screens, open an app, open your Bible. We see in verse 1, tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach. I mean, right there, I think that's a party. There's big meals, big discussions. They're being together. They're doing life. And Jesus is smack dab in the middle of it. We've seen a few times in this series, Jesus welcomes people to discover who He is and why He matters. And that means when Jesus is the center of a church, it's going to be messy. It's going to be a little crazy. It's absolutely not going to be within our control, but it will be amazing. When Jesus is at the center of a church, parties are going to happen. People are going to come. They're going to be from backgrounds that might not always be comfortable, so it's going to be messy, but it's going to be amazing because more people are finding new life and taking those baby steps we talked about a few weeks ago. But the text tells us someone's not happy. Verse 2 tells us, this made the Pharisees and teachers of the religious law, what? So they see a crowd, they see people around Jesus, they hear Him teaching, and their response is to complain that He was associated with such sinful people, even eating with them, being friends with them, building community with them. Unfortunately, the Pharisees, who are supposed to show off how great God was, only showed up how much they missed God's heart. And they're not mad at what Jesus is saying. They're mad at what Jesus is doing. That He's doing life with people on their no-no list. Messy doesn't meet the Pharisees' needs. Messy can't be controlled. And if you and I are honest, there are times we don't want to be around people who don't have it all together. I know that's the case for me. We're not sure we want to be around sinners like Jesus, even though each and every one of us is a sinner, right? We're not quite sure we want to be around the messy, the uncontrolled, the uncomfortable. They have a background, they're different than me. We're not sure what to do with that, even though each and every one of us have come from that. Because it can be easier to polish the outside or go through some religious motions than to truly be about one of the greatest things God has called each one of us to. And so that's why I want to remind us, I want to remind you and I that we exist to show off Jesus. The church exists to show off Jesus, to be the living proof that he is a loving God, to throw a party and tell a greater story by being smack dab right in the middle of life change, where more are discovering life in Jesus through your life. Even when that's messy, even when that's not easy. And so that's why Jesus told them a story, to move our heart, to make a connection, to help us understand the heartbeat of God, of what it means to be lost, and God's heart for them. Anyone ever got lost? It can be confusing, right? Like uncertain. With us being new to the community, I've gotten lost a few times. Imagine that. Because I think I know where I'm going, right? And oops, there was my turn. And at first, my phone is polite, right? Have you ever been lost and it reroutes you? At first, it sounds very polite to you. Rerouting, please make a safe U-turn. But if I don't make that safe U-turn, my phone seems to kind of quickly become, oh, you missed your turn again. Hey, ding dong, you're going the wrong way, right? Am I the only one who sees that, feels that with my GPS rerouting me? And so our story starts in a pasture with a problem. Take a look. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep? What? Until he finds it. See, Jesus kind of flips the expectation and tells us how important the one is, to go after them. Sheep aren't complex, right? Sheep aren't complex. They eat, they sleep, there's wool, you watch where you step, and sheep are simply preoccupied with what's right in front of them. And they get lost. Sheep don't think at the beginning of the day, hey, Billy, won't it be great to get lost today? Doesn't that sound like fun? Let's just go wander until we don't know where we're at. They're not trying to be bad. It just happens. And here's the deal, guys. We are a culture, we are a people, we are a generation that is preoccupied with just trying to do life according to what we see around us and what we're feeling inside of us. We're no different than the sheep. Hungry, thirsty, wandering, wondering, what is there in life? Because there's so many voices saying, this is the way. No, this is the way. And we can easily get confused and then lost. And I'm just being honest, but if I was the shepherd, I would have been mumbling under my breath, right? Stupid sheep. What a pain. I have to leave the 99. Don't you know how hard it is to just take care of 99? Why did you go off on your own? To go find the one? I mean, we expect the shepherd to be mad because often that's what we do. And after finding it, have a nice mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, right? But my friends, that's not the Father's heart for the lost. He goes out of the way. He embraces and carries the sheep home. The sheep is a part of the family. Verse 5, and when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. This is what God has done for you and I. Whether it was the songs we were just singing or your walk through with God this week, I hope that still stirs you. That you were loved, sought, and brought home. That you have a Jesus you want for others. Because Jesus lets us in on a secret. We are the one. The one to wander or the one to help find. You are the one. I am the one. We are called to go out of our way for the lost because that's what Jesus has done for us. We have a story to tell of a God who graciously loves and redeems and rescues us. And when I say go out of our way, I mean be in relationship with the broken, the hurting, the messy, the hungry, those who have sinned and wonder if they should hide or can they find hope, healing, and redemption. Because that's where the party is, my friends. Being found causes God to celebrate. Take a look. And then he calls his friends. He carried the sheep home, and he calls his friends. He calls his neighbors together. He says, what? We got to give some praise. We got to get loud. I found the one sheep. I didn't turn it into mutton because I love the sheep. I found my lost sheep. I tell you that in the same way, there'll be more rejoicing where? So who's rocking? Who's throwing a party? God's throwing a party over the one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who do not need to repent. Because at the epicenter of the church is the understanding that Jesus is alive. We sang about that this morning. And his passion is to draw, love, rescue, and redeem people. More people going from death to life, darkness to light. Lives changed, families are renewed, and cities transformed. And so here's my point for this morning. A healthy church hears a heartbeat other than our own. A healthy church hears a heartbeat other than our own. We're not called to be a holy huddle. Our passion for God leads us to have compassion for others. Our neighbors, our city, our community, our co-workers, to love others like Jesus has loved us, leading us to make friends with the yet to believe. Because the simple reality is we share about what we care about. Isn't it true? You and I, we share about what we care about. It might be your favorite restaurant. It might be a movie or a show we just watched. Someone amazing gave me a big bag of coffee. It smells so good, I can't wait to make it because they love that type of coffee, right? We share about when our team won. We share about things that matter to us, and we make a big deal about it. And so Jesus is telling us heaven celebrates the lost finding their way home. And we should too. That we can't wait. We can't wait to throw a party for the next person who follows Jesus. And I know it can be hard to relate to sheep, but I think we can relate to our kids, right? That's why Jesus tells us the final story, verse 11. To illustrate the point further, Jesus told them this story. A man had 2 sons. I love being a dad. I love being a dad. And I sure miss. If you have little kids at home, I get it. It's rough. It's hard. The days are long, but the years are short. Because I miss coming home and walking through the door and hearing, Daddy's home! And then I had the teenage years. Hi, Dad. Right? What's for dinner? You know what I mean? One of the biggest and greatest things in my life is being a dad. And so the text tells us the younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now. This isn't, hey, Dad, can I have some lunch money? Or can I have some money for the movies? The son broke the father's heart. He dishonored every value in the family. The younger son is literally saying, I wish you were dead so I can have my money now. It's what's happening in the text. And the hard thing about parenting is you can't shield them from everything. And so a few days later, the younger son packed what? All his belongings, because he's not coming back. He's out of here. He's done. And he moved to a distant land where he's not known. He has a new identity, new opportunity. He wants to blow this money in however he wants. And there he wasted all his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. I want you to notice the text tells us he liked his life. It was fun. It felt good. This is the place to be and the thing to do. And the deal is we can easily find ourselves in the same place. Chasing things and then getting lost. Because our culture uses stuff to mask a hurt or try and fill our heart. Again, we are the same. We are like the younger son. chasing, wandering, trying, filling that empty hole in our heart with whatever we think will satisfy. Promotions, house, stuff, money, job, relationships. But the simple reality is there comes a crash. Anytime you put anything on the throne of your heart other than Jesus, there will be a crash. A breaking point. Because to get the same high, you have to do more, have more, and try more. You have to feed the craving to shut it up. And so verse 17 tells us when he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And here I'm starving to death. I'm going to go back to my father. I don't care if I'm a servant because at least they're taken care of. There's this moment of clarity. He fights through the shame and embarrassment with the relationship, with the help of the relationship. I hope you don't miss that. Because to hear another's heartbeat means understanding and being with them in real life. Far too often as Christians, we kind of have our thing, and then there's the world. We have our sacred and secular, and we're kind of like, hey, I got the answers. When you're at your end of your rope, come find me and we'll figure it out. That's not the story here. The story is to go, to be with in real life, to have real conversations about how God really changes lives, not just changes Sundays. There's a relationship to be had to move them closer to Jesus. To hear another's heartbeat means to be with them in real life. And so the younger son returned home to his father, and while he was still a long way off, his father what? Saw him coming. And here's what I love. The text, it says, filled with. He saw him coming. He's been looking for a long time. He sees him coming, and the father is filled with. And I just want you to fill in the blank. Because I know there's some pain in our lives from our parents. How would you have been telling the story? You've been gone a long time. You've been messing up your life, and you're coming home, and you wonder, what are they thinking? Filled with anger? I mean, literally, the younger son said, die, Dad, so I can have my money. Revenge? Happy you failed. And my friends, pain so often mutes our story. Pain so often mutes our story. The father is filled with love and compassion. And so he what? He ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. Now, often when we've heard this story, we've read the story, we think he's on the front porch, we see him out by the post office box, and the father gets up and runs to him. That's actually not what's happening here. Understand what's happening. The town would have known the son's story, how he left, and maybe all his wild living. And so as the younger son approaches the village gates, the town would have been there to tell him how messed up he is, to shame him. That's what happens in this culture, honor, shame. And so the father ran, not to the gate, not to the post office box. The father ran to the city gates to shield the son from the community's shame, to love the son, to welcome the son home, even when the village didn't want him. Because the father didn't want the world to heap more hurt, but to let love lead. And so the father puts himself in a position to take all the pain and all the criticism. Who does that sound like? Jesus and what he does for us. And again, I don't want you to miss how long he's been looking. This isn't a week. This isn't a month. There's a famine that has destroyed the land. That takes a while. And this next verse is so key. The son said to the father, I have. Don't miss that. Against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. He recognizes what's happened in his heart, his life, his soul. The son responds, the son confesses, the son trusts. He puts himself under the position of his father. Now here's what I know. You want them home. And you want them healthy. And those of you who have a wandering child, hear me. Without healthy, it won't make them happy for long. without healthy home will not make them happy for long. And some of you, I know you're hurting right now, hoping for this type of homecoming, for your son, for your daughter, even a grandchild. It breaks your heart. Tears flowing on your knees. God, please help. And that is Daddy God's heart too, guys. His father said to the servants, quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet and kill the calf we've been fattening. We must celebrate. Not just an emotional embrace. This is a commitment. Each of these things symbolize something, but that's what the robe and the ring and celebration is for. To show of the commitment to be home and how good it is to be home, because coming home is a good thing. The relationship is restored. The heart of the Father meets the confession of the Son, and he is accepted, valued, loved on, and sacrificed for. And so hear me, our Daddy God does failure. He does brokenness. Papa God does awkward because he pours out forgiveness. The messy are welcomed home. The broken have a person to believe in. And my encouragement for you is to have confidence in the Father and have courage to come home. If you're not sure about Jesus, I want you to know that you have a home right here. A safe place to ask questions. We are honored. We're honored by your trust and presence as you explore. Because church is a relationship, right? Church is relationships. It's not simply programs or Sundays. We're not just buildings. Church is people with people pursuing Jesus. It's these relationships that are a beautiful belonging and then a transformative becoming. Because God is in the midst changing lives. That means if God's in the midst changing lives, people have to come from an old life. Taking those new steps, we create belonging so that Jesus can do the hard work of transforming. And we become more like him. And so that means we have the responsibility and ability to help people find their way home to the Father. To relate to the lost as family, not home yet. And so I don't want you to miss what this means for you personally, because Jesus so clearly tells us in Luke 7, a few chapters earlier, these words, but the person who has shown little love, the indicator's love, the person who has shown little love shows how little forgiveness they have received. Here's the question. The forgiveness is the same, right? Because that's God's part. He offers forgiveness. But it's the recognition, the reception, that's the question. That's our part. And it is shown in our love. To those who have been forgiven much, we love much. And if we don't, we risk the danger of the rest of the story addresses. And so real quick, because this is a long story condensed real quick, there's another brother, same mother, and he is just as lost. Meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard what? He heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants, what's going on? He's out in the field. He's doing his duty. He comes back. He's like, what is going on? He's not used to music. He didn't know how to celebrate. He's told, your brother's back. And your father has killed the fattened calf. We're celebrating because of his safe return. And the older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. I think that might be the saddest verse in all the Bible to me. The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. Jesus tells us why. He's bitter. He's bitter because of the understanding of his relationship with the Father. He tells us in verse 29, all those years I've what? I've slaved for you. And never once refused to do a single thing you've told me to. And all that time you never what? You never gave me one young goat for a feast with my friends. But you hear the heart? You recognize where he's at? I don't think the older brother started out this way. I think he got stuck. And maybe that's where you find yourself today, frustrated, exhausted. He started to believe a lie, and it pulled him away from home. The older brother spent all those years trying to earn what was already his. He never enjoyed it. He missed the heartbeat of what was possible for his life and what it was like to be in the Father's home. And so when this son of yours, this is his charge, this is his response, when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing a fattened calf. How could you have a party? Don't you know what he did to you? He's literally saying, when this whoremongering younger son of yours straggles in from the far country, you go berserk in celebration. You make yourself a fool, drooling over him in front of the servants and the city. The older brother's telling the father, you should be ashamed. It's not fair. This is outrageous. How could you behave this way when the younger brother, who's denied everything that we care about as a family, ran away and comes back? And you know what? It's not fair. It is outrageous because it's called grace. And grace will get right into the cracks of everything we've messed up and jacked up because God rescues, God loves, God covers by his own blood and his own sacrifice all that we have messed up, my friends. And so please don't miss grace. The older brother didn't get grace because he didn't know truly how to live with the Father's heartbeat or in his house. And so some of you, you've been a Christian for a long time. And here's my question. Here's my concern. You've never been embraced or kissed or received your belonging as a son or daughter of God. You function more as a hired servant. You do your good religious duty, but you've missed the intimacy. And so today I want to celebrate communion. We've been singing about it all morning long, the life found in Jesus. And so as we take up these symbols in a few moments, it's a reminder of how loved you are, of life in the Father's house. Because CBC, we are a ragtag collection of transformed people who love God personally. And that means we love others passionately because we want to be a part of making heaven sing, of people being saved. And so we are surrendered seed throwers. We are soul lovers, hope sharers, grace givers, risk takers, and dreamers, young and old. For one more.